This lesson covers understanding storage space tiering and write-back cache in Windows Server 2012 R2. One of the biggest changes in storage spaces in 2012 R2 is the introduction of the support for different tiers of storage. For example, hard disk drives and solid-state drives, HDD and SSD. Traditionally, hard disk drives offer a larger amount of storage for the dollar, while solid-state drives offer faster performance but generally have less storage. By combining these two different types of storage together, you can have a storage solution that offers a large amount of disk space, but for the most popular data, store that in the SSD, i.e. the highest performing storage, to get an overall very high performing storage solution. So Windows Server 2012 R2 storage spaces has a hard disk drive tier and an SSD tier. And as can be seen in the picture, traditionally storage spaces in Windows Server 2012 just had a collection of disks, and I could create fixed size drives, i.e. FAT provisioned, or fin provisioned drives where space is only allocated as data is written. Now I can add these SSD type drives, which enables me for my storage spaces, my virtual disks, to actually allocate a certain amount of space as an SSD tier. This then enables the amount of data to be viewed, and the hottest blocks, i.e. the data that has the most amount of activity, can be moved into the SSD tier where it has that highest performing storage solution. So the most popular blocks will reside in the SSD tier, while the rest of the data will stay in the hard disk drive tier, which offers lower performance but a larger amount of storage. Additionally, this SSD tier is also used for a write-back cache. If you consider a scenario where there's a large amount of data written to a storage space, if that was being written to the hard disk drives, it may impact the overall storage performance of the solution. By using the SSD tier as a write-back cache, all writes are initially written to the SSD disks and then lazily written to the hard disk drives, when most convenient to the storage solution without impacting the overall performance. So again, this improves the overall performance of storage spaces by enabling all writes to initially go to this write-back cache, which by default is 1 GB in size. It is important to understand that there are various types of resiliency available in storage spaces, such as mirroring and parity. The write-back cache, while matching the resiliency level of the virtual disk or storage space is protecting, will never use parity because there are inherent performance challenges with using parity. Therefore, mirroring will always be used in the write-back cache to ensure the required amount of resiliency. For example, if I was using a parity virtual disk, i.e. I can support one disk failing, then it will use a two-way mirror for the write-back cache. If I had dual parity, i.e. I can support losing two disks, it would use a three-way mirror in the write-back cache. So this is great for a number of scenarios, such as VDI scenarios where I have lots of virtual machines. What I can also do is, if I know I have certain files that need to be in that highest level of performance, the SSD tier, I can pin them. I can say, don't wait for these blocks to be seen to be used a lot. Actually directly move them into the SSD tier. And that's why this works very well for VDI scenarios. I could take, for example, my main gold image and directly move that into the SSD tier straight away. Now normally this works at a 1 MB block level. So it will move in 1 MB chunks data between the tiers. It doesn't have to move the entire file. There were other changes made in 2012 R2, three-way mirroring, dual parity spaces which support the losing of two disks. Faster rebuild is also available in the Windows Server 2012 R2 storage spaces, as now instead of having to recreate all of the lost data on the disk that failed, it will actually rebuild in parallel across all the disks in the storage space where space is available. So now I get all of the IOPS of all of the other disks, so I don't need that dedicated hot spare anymore.